Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Crying. That would be accurate to the end of the video if we were all just sitting there crying. As we like.
I have not actually watched this video yet.
You didn't even watch it.
Alright, I'm gonna mute my mic so I can watch it.
You're on screen though, Lucas.
Oh no.
Weep not for the memory. I'm so tired, but I can't sleep. I'm standing on the edge of something much too deep. It's funny how we feel so much, but we can't say a word. We are screaming inside, but we can't be heard. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the
Alright, welcome to TFYLP, episode 575. We are live tonight. It is Tuesday, April 16th. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Paul
I'm sad.
and Phil
Howdy.
and Rob.
Hi. What are we gonna do, guys? The last 20 years of my life have been a lie.
I'm gonna burn it all and collect Cyberverse.
So as
Only
you can see
option.
before, when we had the video going, that apparently my video is on there, and I'm laughing, you know, at the at everything. So I'm happy. Let's go. I'm ready for this stuff to be done, right?
And the audio was on while we were doing it, so I'm sure it really made
I
the
turned
effect
it off
even
after
better.
a minute or whatever.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, right. That's just the best. So, as we said, the production quality here, top notch. Let me tell you. So,
We should really fire our producer.
right? Right, exactly. So there you go. So I'll loop it back around, but maybe if we talk over it, we don't get the copyright strike. So
Maybe.
There you go.
Maybe.
I will say, Paul, I do appreciate if you get the channel shut down, because our other copyright strike that we have against the channel from like 3 years ago was we decided to live watch like something on YouTube that what was it? Cyberverse, right? Yeah. And we got a copyright strike for that because apparently you can't do that.
I see Zaldron is already promoting the book club, so the show is pretty much over at this point, right?
Right.
Or have things changed in the last year that I don't remember?
So he makes sure to post it at the beginning of the show, and then that way, I don't forget or whatever. Yeah, it's just so.
By the way, does anybody else think Lucas's camera looks like he's taking like one of those 80s or 90s glamour shots?
Oh my god!
Like your aunt posts pictures of on Facebook, like, I was so pretty 30 years ago.
I'm sorry. Like, whatever. Jesus.
Like,
Now
What'd you get on that camera, Lucas? I mean, geez.
Maybe we don't want to know.
There's some serious residue.
All right. Well, it's
You look
great
stunning.
having you guys on.
You look stunning, Lucas.
It's great.
So-
It's great having you guys on. Is what I'm saying.
So
Is this any
pretty
better?
soon-
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, actually,
Lucas is
yeah.
gonna leave the show after the end of this
Right?
one.
Yeah. Right. Taking requests for new host. Right.
I vote Phil.
Yeah, we can all have.
So yeah, Masterpiece is over. Like I think the most optimistic scenario is that it's just a rebranding and it just goes under the MPG label. Like, that's like best case scenario, that there's not much of a difference. I don't know how realistic that difference is, or that hope is. 'Cause MPG seems to do its own thing, and the jury's out on how that. I mean, I think I've said it before. I think Raiden is a disaster. I think I called it a disaster piece. I just. Bleh. I think Jinrai looks a lot better. I'm a bit worried about what the scale is on that thing combined. We're just kind of guesstimating, and we know some of like potential box sizes or whatever of it. But like I don't know. I'm definitely concerned, given that that's like my thing, right? That's like the main thing I collect is Masterpiece and third-party Masterpiece stand-ins. So
I think we've got too small of a sample size to say for sure what it's going to be.
someone said we have one figure and then another one shown. Somebody else could say we're 7 figures in.
So
I
just to confirm,
but
what?
it's one like combiner. That's a different. The combiner being the
Yeah.
first 6. That's a really different animal.
It is.
And technically, it's one figure. I'm sorry, it's 7 figures in a trailer. Because the main bot of Jinrai is MP still. He's the final MP.
Yeah.
And then he transitions to MPG.
It's so weird, and it's so Japanese. It's just like how they number the toys however they feel like.
Yeah.
And some other things about that are just kind of like make me want to bang my head against the table, because they promote things. They're like, this is the 100th Masterpiece toy. Like, you're supposed to care. Like, it's supposed to matter. But it's not even true, because they didn't count like all the Bapes. They didn't count all sorts of like actual numbered releases. And whether it has a number or a letter, a designation, or a plus sign or a minus sign, whatever, it's just super confusing. Why couldn't they have just made it 1 through 100? If that's what they wanted to do. I don't think they're counting MP 711. I mean, they promised us like 600 Masterpiece toys with that numbering, and now it's all out the window, man. Just gone.
Where are they? There's a lot to fill between that and 7-Eleven, right?
So just to confirm, what was the official release that they had said about Masterpiece? Just that they're
It was
like
on their
ending the line?
website. It was on the website, so there was at first there was some rough like Google image translation stuff going on, but that it said that that Jinrai is the last Masterpiece figure. It's just going to end the line, and that from now on it'll just be MPG. And like looking at the TF Wiki, the G stands for Gatai, which means combine or giant or great. And so the whole point is that's supposed to be combiners, right? Given the name of the line, which would mean that the idea of, again, I've heard some hopefuls that, it's just going to be a rebranding. That's like, well, Jazz doesn't combine with anybody, right? Ugh. So it's, unless
Jazz, here he comes.
Unless they're saying that all they got left is the combiners, which obviously they've been woefully absent from the official Masterpiece line, and they're just saying, well, that's all we're going to do from now on is just the rest of the missing combiners, and the rest of the cartoon stuff we didn't do, we're just not going to do. We're just done. But like, what about the rest of season 1 of Beast Wars? Like there's, I don't know about the movie Masterpiece line as well, but I guess it kind of has its own branding with the NPM not being part of the main Masterpiece series. So maybe that continues on. So like I feel like there's still a lot of questions and a lot of unknown, unless they're just like we're done with it. We got some MPG stuff we're still going to do, some combiners we want to do, but that's it, and we're just done.
Rob, how much do you read comic books?
Current Transformer one, none.
Just in general comic books over the last like 10 years.
I'm rereading my Ninja Turtle comics right now, the
Okay, so-
Garage run, but like I don't really read any of the new stuff.
So what was an announcement that the Ninja Turtle books had recently?
I don't know. I don't read the IDW ones.
They're going to have a relaunch with a new #1. Like this kind of thing happens a lot. Not only do you have like, so one of the other things you have happen in comic books is you'll have like, Captain America got killed. He's going to be replaced by Bucky. And then Bucky runs around for a year in a new Captain America suit. And then guess what? New Captain America #1 because Steve Rogers is back. So, I mean, this very well could be like, hey, we're going to do this MPG concentration for 2 years and then make a big fanfare about MP coming back.
It's definitely possible, but like to me, it doesn't seem unreasonable to think that they're stopping it. But and maybe it is. Maybe it's just a temporary stop for them to rebrand and refigure out what they want to do. Like, I'm not a Takara hater, but like a lot of the third-party Masterpiece environment have become Takara haters. They're just like, I'll just collect fans toys now, or whatever. Whereas I'm just like, whoever makes the best one, for my taste, I'll buy. I don't have really brand loyalty, but prices have been going up. They've had some quality issues, the past few years, and yeah, like the thought of them throwing in the towel on, especially they just come out so slow, right? That they've never really put if they got like 1 or 2 people working on it, right? And that's just as fast as they can put them out, like they've never devoted like a ton of people to it or whatever. They just let it take its time, and maybe they're just done with it. Like it doesn't seem unreasonable to me to say, hey, they're not happy with how it's been performing. Maybe sales haven't been good, and they're just like, ugh, let third party's already done everybody anyways. We're done.
Well, I wonder too is like, one is if the remaining figures that they're interested in doing, they can't get the car licenses for, and that's a big interest in them, that they can't get the Porsche license or whatever, right? Like just speculation, but so whatever remaining ones they want to do, they can't pump out enough repaints to make it profitable for themselves. They can't get the licensing at the cost that they need to get it at to release it at the price they need to release it at, type of thing. And or like you said, that maybe they're ready to move on to combiners, at least for now, and then maybe they'll do a big rebrand in the future of the regular line. But like, I mean, I kind of feel like a little bit with the Masterpiece, like of the Japanese, which it seems like that they're more interested in doing season 1, season 2 guys. I mean, they've already done a lot of those like A-list guys. And so maybe they're kind of getting to the point where it's like, are we really going to move the needle if we like release some of the mini bots or whatever? Like, is it going to, like, that they don't want to throw that out there and have it like not sell well, or something like that they're just, it's just not necessarily a great use of their resources.
I mean, pour one out for that Masterpiece cliff jumper that died on the vine after what we've been seeing protos for that for at least 2 years, right? If not more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think to your point, it's funny, like, as I think about that, kind of goes with, in a way, what I think Phil was saying, like, we're going to do a rebrand later so that, that #1 issue of comics always sells better. Well, launching with a new Optimus Prime always sells better, right? And like, it can't do a new Optimus Prime for a while because they just did a big, huge, expensive one. And like, what are they going to do? What more could they do? Like, obviously you could always do different engineering, right? But if the goal was at this size point with this level of cartoon accuracy, like, the box is checked. Yeah, you can do different engineering, but like it's still performing the same function in a collection.
You still need a Masterpiece Optimus with one grill. Just one grill.
No fake
Not
grill.
two. Just one.
You gotta
and I
break
do wonder
reality
too,
to get that accuracy.
I know, did third party help kill it too? Because I mean, I'm sure that goes into calculations. When you say, oh well, if we're gonna release like some B-list, C-list character, and this third party already released it, so they already produced 10,000 or whatever it may be, or like 2,000 or whatever, and so like is it something where they've already had that, or maybe the third party that has given them enough market research that says, okay, well, those other characters aren't going to sell as well as what the other way. Either way, to me, I feel like that they're probably looking at profit loss analysis or whatever and saying it's just not worth it.
Yeah, because I'm sure Fans Toys tells Takara Tomy all their numbers and sales figures, right? Hey, we only sold this many of your fucking guy from, season 3. Don't do him.
We know for a fact that some of that Takara contracts out some of its design because some of the designers for third-party stuff has done that. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Takara wants to know, hey, how many did Fans Toys produce of this or that they couldn't get, like, a ballpark of it, right? Like, they may not have, specifics, and as far as did it sell well or not, man, we know which Fans Toys ones went on clearance and which ones tripled on the aftermarket. Like, that stuff isn't hard to figure out.
Yeah, but there's so many.
There's a lot of variables.
There's
so many variables
there
there
too, right?
Like it's going to be a different toy. It's going to be the same character, right? But like, I just find it hard to believe that the actual license owner of this stuff, the creator of these things, looks at small piddly, company X and says, "Oh, they already did our guy. We can't do it." Like I don't believe that is a reality in any sort of fashion.
I could see it, to Lucas's point, at the intersection of, can we do these lesser known characters? And it's like knowing that it's going to sell less. And they're like, hey, we want to do that because we want to finish out the season 1 line or season 2. We want to do all the mini bots. And they're just like, well, we know that's a less market for that stuff. And we know that third parties are already sold to all the collectors that are really, itching for that stuff. So like, they still know that they're going to sell a good amount of them, right? But maybe it's just not enough to make it worthwhile for them. Like I could see it in that vein. But we're hypothesizing, right?
Yeah. I mean,
well, oh, sorry.
Sorry, but where I stand on this whole conversation. But like, it's death, but it's Takara Tomy's fault. It's Hasbro's fault. It's death by 1,000 cuts. You can get. They lost 50%, if not 75% of their market to all the third party companies in this particular line of stuff.
I remember
just the sponge has been squeezed already by the time that they get to it, and it's like, oh, there's only a few drips. Well, what's that? It makes a lot of sense. The whole Raiden thing was
Raiden.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, both toys blow. So I mean, but like that, it's really hard to defend the MPG Raiden compared to the other one.
At least one of them looks good on a shelf, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I've got a.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I had nothing good to say.
I want to say about something Lucas opened with a few minutes ago. Did the third party, hurt the MP line in that vein? And if it wasn't for third party, I would have probably not collected the line at all, because it would be so goddamn boring to collect it. Because 2 figures a year, and half of them are repaints, right? It's been so slow. Like, we are collectors. We like to see, hey, I got season 1 done, And as Takara stuff comes out, I generally replace my third-party stuff, the only exception being RC, because I think the MP RC sucks. But she looks great in car mode, so I kept the car mode. But
who's to say it started going slow because the sales started going down because there were all these alternative options for things that shouldn't Like they should have had the stranglehold on the market because
Yeah.
like, there shouldn't be another giant Optimus Prime toy out there. There should only be MP44, but there were 5 other ones that came out for $100 right before the MP44 came out, just like the Raiden, just like Jinrai, who has been released for a few years now through other means in, again, debatably better fashion. I have a hard time defending this flagship MPG toy that I'm looking at that just looks bizarre. If you look at that video, the memoriam for Masterpiece,
Pour one out.
you will see there is a moment where I zoom in on those truck arms. Because what is that? Why did you design it like that? That makes no sense. Like that is not a good starting point for MPG.
It's weird. Like it's such an easy engineering fix, you know. Like I'm still looking forward to it because it looks so much better than the Legends one we got, or Titan's Return, or whatever line that was in. That thing, I really wanted to love that thing, and I hated it so much. Like I, even bought the extra parts, and like, I sat with it for a while, and I was like, I cannot like this thing, and I got rid of it. But like, I don't think there's been a good Masterpiece Jinrai yet, because there's the Fans Hobby one, which is just like such a different aesthetic. It's like totally different. And Fans Hobby does its own thing. Maybe it's a great toy. I honestly don't know. I don't have any hate for it. It just was never what I was wanting. But now the KFC one, I've always been interested in. But he put out the trailer, and that's it. Like the rest of it's supposed to be coming, right? But it's like, well, I kind of want to see it together. I thought that was a big misstep on Keith's part. But so I feel like there's a definite hankering for a good MP Jinrai, and this one does a lot of things better than the KFC one aesthetically, believe it or not. But yeah, then you have like the dumb truck arms, and the robot mode proportions aren't great. Like they're not terrible, but they're not great either. The arms look kind of stubby and whatever.
And the weird leg. I mean,
yeah.
Super Jinrai's feet-leg situation has always been strange to begin with.
He doesn't have feet. He just has like more shin.
Yeah, I do think the MP60, the Jinrai bot, looks pretty great. It can do some of those weird kind of strange anime poses that it does. You got to expect that, MP9 or MPG10 or whatever it's going to be, it will probably be God Bomber, right? Because that's Gatai, right? It connects to the thing and blah, blah, blah.
You would think.
So
I guess this toy has to sell good enough, right?
Right? Yeah.
Ron in the chat had asked about is the current stuff coming from Generations actually hurting MP more than third party? And I mean, I guess I could see it. Like, I would assume that the majority of Takara's market that they're going for is the Asian market. Although, I mean, we don't know sales numbers as far as what sells in the U.S. versus Asia, but like I would think that would be the majority of their sales. But like those figures are sold over there too, so I don't know. Maybe there are a certain number of collectors that say, hey, this is good enough. Like,
there definitely are collectors that say that. I mean, plenty of them are here on this channel, right? They're like, I used to buy MP until they started making, literally take the G1 toy and put in more articulation in it, and some modern stuff, and throw it in Generations. Right. Like we've heard that from plenty of people. So I think those people never wanted Masterpiece what it's supposed to be in the first place. It was just that was the best cartoon representation they could find that they liked. And now there's a much better thing. So.
But I know for me personally, like I know that there's some people that they're like, oh, I don't really like transforming the Masterpiece the same, whatever. Like I always thought it was really cool and interesting. However, like Rob, what you had brought up before about it coming out so slow, right? Is for me, it's like I have a certain number of characters that like I want to collect. Like for me to feel like that my collection is, whatever, like, at the level that I want it at, right? And I want that. Well, the problem is that if I'm collecting Masterpiece, nothing 100% goes together, and that bugs the crap out of me, right? Because it's like, oh, I have to fill in It's like, okay, I can get most of it from Takara, but then I have to fill in some from Fans Toys, and then I have to fill in like some from KFC, and then it's like, okay, well, I really got to scrape the bottom of the barrel and get like a bad cube or just whatever. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of like something else, like whatever. It's like I got this other stand-in like type of thing.
SND toys.
Yeah, SND toys, like whatever. And so it's like I could never feel like it. And so that's the biggest thing I feel like the Generations offers to me, the Masterpiece doesn't, is I can put it all together and it all goes together. It all looks right together to me for the most part, and whatever. And I can have all this stuff. Whereas like Masterpiece, it's
Have
like
you tried squinting? You just squint just a little bit, man. That's all it takes.
I think that is a good question and point, because if you look at the new Studio Series Ultra Magnus, how many people are comparing it to the MP Ultra Magnus? And granted, this is 7-8 years down the road, so engineering has improved significantly. But a lot of people say that the new Studio Series is superior to the MP.
Well, I mean, it's a mini masterpiece, isn't it?
Oh God,
it's not a mini masterpiece, Paul. It is like pretty much not that far off in size.
I think you forget how large the original toy was. But like seriously, like if you took a little bit of a blurry shot of that, it does have all the aesthetic cues of the Masterpiece. Like there's no doubt about it. And we've seen this, we've talked about it before. Masterpiece is always a testing ground for good engineering, right? And then
your Masterpiece do this?
Yeah, because I have the X Transpots one now, actually. Ooh. I have the
right. Your Masterpiece can't. Your third party can.
Which came out again 8 years after the Masterpiece, right? But yeah,
neither can my Starscream.
That was a choice. They made a choice, but it's like the better parts of the engineering always like get simplified or whatever to be worked into the main line. We've seen that with a lot of stuff that was groundbreaking in the Masterpiece line, like Ultra Magnus was. It's still a great toy. That's why I bought the Diaclone repaint of it, and I have that because the toy is so good. I still wanted to keep it. But
me too.
Well,
Lucas, didn't you kind of have a theory you were?
Yeah. So this is my theory about the whole.
Hold that real quick, because you were mentioning about transformations. The Takara transformations have been all over the map in complexity. Like the recent Trailbreaker and a Hoist, they're not difficult at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just completely different. Like compared that to like MP44, worlds difference of complexity. And like same with like skids. Like Trailbreaker and Hoist are more like skids were, as far as like they're pretty straightforward. Like there's a little bit extra, but they're pretty straightforward, and they achieve that really nice cartoon look. So
I am wondering though. I'm curious if like Takara, like when they released MP44 and they released the Masterpiece Bumblebee or whatever, if they even though like they sold out and whatever, if maybe they didn't get the sales numbers that they're wanting at the price point that they're selling it at. And they're just like, oh, hold on. Like, we were hoping that we were going to have to re-release this, like, 4 or 5 times, whatever, 8 times. And, we've only done it once or whatever. And so, like, we were projecting that it was going to sell 5 times as much as what we thought it was. And, like, the retailers and whoever are not biting the way that we thought they would just due to the price point. Because, I mean, again...
Yeah. They priced themselves out of a lot of people's wallet, and that turned a lot of people onto those third-party alternatives.
Yes, because there's a large majority of people that'll be like, well, this is good enough.
Yep.
In fact, I think it's better because it's cheaper. So, they just don't need to get the thing that... I think in that vein, Takara probably didn't even consider what was going on outside of their own market because in their eyes, they probably shouldn't have to.
It's people we lost.
Reality, but
10 years ago in the third party market, it was a lot different, a landscape. And, people said then, and they were 100% correct, the only people that can really beat third party is Hasbro, but not by like lawsuits or whatever. It's just by changing what they give. And then they did Combiner Wars. And we started seeing the chug style stuff from third party decrease as Hasbro realized what the hell they should be making. Right. And like if Takara had started pumping out 10 masterpiece figures a year in that G1 style and it kept the prices more competitive and not at the, more designer prices, like they were trying to go to like Sola Chogokin pricing. I think that like they could have killed third party if they had taken that, so which, again, that kind of ties back to something you said earlier, Paul. Like if Takara wanted to crush third party masterpiece, they could have done it, but it probably would have taken more investment, I guess, than somebody somewhere wanted to put into it for reasons, we're not privy to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious though, why don't they want to do the Solo Chojokin like stuff? And I have no idea what sales numbers are on that, but I mean, I'm sure Takara is probably trying to figure out the market as far as like, all right, how premium do we want to go? Do we want to go up here? Do we want to go down here? Whatever. But
So I have a theory on that, Lucas, and it ties into something you said earlier. Before I say that theory, I just want to double check something. Are any of the Raiden train bots licensed to the train companies? Because I don't see any logo on the box for another company. I just grabbed Suiken just for that was the easiest one for me to grab. But are any of these officially licensed?
I don't believe so, but also a lot of these trains are 30 years old, right? Because they were made back in, like the original designs are from like 1983 and 4. So
that's 40 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, shit. So I don't know. I don't know how that matters. It seems like they should probably have to pay something, but
the wiki says that it was produced in collaboration with the train department of Takara Tomi's scale model oriented subsidiary company. And so it converts into a fully HO scale compatible, which I assume is a model train collector thingy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say that it's like licensed or whatever, but it sounds like it went through like the rigor of producing scale model train type stuff. Which is kind of how they tried to do the car modes in the Masterpiece line. Well, and the whole, well, they would want to get the license to do jazz or whatever. It's like, but we know they have a license with Porsche. They've done it recently multiple times, so it's just, it's weird. Maybe it is like, maybe for some reason they're like, no, we're not going to let you have the license for that old car. We're just not doing it for whatever esoteric reason. Or maybe again, they're just some reason they don't want to do it that we are not privy to.
I mean, I have no idea what the licensing deals are, but maybe there's some type of a fixed cost to it. And so, like, if you are producing 50 billion of them for the movie, it's like, well, who cares?
That'll work out.
Right. But like, if you're producing 10,000 or whatever, I have no idea what the numbers are, but just whatever, a smaller run for Masterpiece or whatever, maybe it's not worth it. I don't know.
And so thank you, gentlemen, for helping with that info. And so what my theory is that the switch to MPG is to switch to Transformers that aren't transforming into something that's officially licensed. So because Jinrai is not officially licensed truck, the train bots were not officially licensed trains. And so to your point about Solo Chogokin, is that those don't transform into anything you got to pay a licensing fee on to like, Mercedes.
This is a wild theory, bro. I don't think RC was licensed in the Masterpiece line.
If only there were some Transformers that had unlicensed alt modes.
Like everything in the movie.
There's plenty of those that have unlicensed alt modes, but now you're starting to get into characters that aren't as popular. Now you're starting to get into characters that aren't as in demand, and are you going to have the sales numbers you need to pay for that licensing? So maybe this is a way to sort of still continue to do MP, but rebrand it so that it's not something that's going to be exactly produced like a Lamborghini.
Or maybe the heads over at Takara changed and the new guy's like, this Masterpiece line's a waste of our time. Screw this. I don't like them. I don't want us dealing with them.
That's another question I have. Do we think the Warden announcement has any tie-in with this?
That was going to be my theory about the stuff
we
talked about before. All right, so here's my big theory about the whole thing. So I don't know if you guys had seen the news that John Warden is coming back to be over Transformers. Like I think he's still going to be over GI Joe, but Transformers as well. I know that
We'll be making a welcome back intro video for him soon with every photo of John Warden ever.
Mark has.
Can you
been...
also use some more copyrighted music?
Right. Yes. Thank you. Mark has been, at least we're not monetized. So, it's good. That's good. So Mark has been mentioning about kind of the end of an era. Like he's been making some kind of somewhat cryptic posts on Instagram. And so I really am kind of curious about whatever the current line is, Generations line is in Studio Series, that there's potentially a shift in a couple of years. So this is, all the way through 2026, right? But I'm wondering, the other thing too is that, the Generations line has pretty much produced, unless they do combiners again or whatever, which I guess they are, that they've already done a combiner. They're going to do Superion as well. That they've already kind of done most of the figures already. So unless they, they're going to have to redo them at some point. 2 years from now, they're going to run out of at least the A-list characters to do unless they're redoing them. So I think that what if they actually shift Generations up a little bit, and instead of making Generations, it's kind of like the NPM line where it's a little bit nicer, and they partner with Takara, and that's essentially your Masterpiece line. So Generations, MPG, all that kind of stuff just kind of morphs together, and Hasbro actually starts releasing significantly more Masterpieces as a collaboration with Takara.
Can I get some of what you're smoking? Because it sounds like some good shit, man. It is primo. I'm just fucking with you.
Rude.
That feels like that would be interesting, but that seems like a real big stretch. Because I've always felt like Takara's pretty much doesn't give a crap what Hasbro wants when it comes to stuff like the Masterpiece line. It always felt like Takara's going to do what they're going to do, and if Hasbro wants to, they are allowed to license out that stuff to sell over here. Hasbro owns certain aspects and fictional. I think they run a lot of the fiction type stuff these days, but it always felt like from a toys perspective they just kind of leased it almost, from or Takara's approval to have it produced and sold over here type of things. So it would be a pretty big shock to me that Warden had anything to do with anything there. Kind of related to that, I was looking at the wiki for Masterpiece. The guy that designed all of the Raiden bots also designed Starscream, Skids, Trailbreaker, and Skyfire from the Masterpiece line. So those are wildly different designs, right? And he also designed pretty much all the real world vehicles for Diaclone and Microman. He designed all the Dinobots. Guy has worked for that forever, and he actually is the one overseeing the Masterpiece line according to TF Wiki. So that guy's been there forever. So I don't know. How can we get him on the show to answer our dumb questions and stop our pointless,
right?
I'm sure. Get us a translator and get him on the show.
There's no way in hell that they would actually say any of this stuff. The best that happen is someone gets laid off from Hasbro and is bitter and decides to break some NDAs or whatever, right?
So are you saying the best thing to happen would be if someone
one of those on cast?
Yeah, but he hasn't worked there in 10 years. So
what were you gonna say, Phil?
Sorry.
I said, so Lucas said the best thing to happen would be for someone to lose their job.
Somebody needs to be fired for that.
I don't mean it like that. So you guys don't think my theory at all?
I'll entertain it.
Yeah,
I'll entertain it a little bit.
Theory?
Yeah, I will. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is, they're gonna make a shift in Transformers because they're gonna go closer in with Takara and like maybe let Takara lead a little more of the product line, which would be crazy, but and like change the price points a little bit, like up like right now a deluxe is already $25.
Can that go
25.
any higher?
Well, it could if you like actually jump the price. Let's say that they become like $40, right?
$50.
But they're not deluxes anymore. They're like the MP train. They're like the train bots, maybe a little smaller or something. So their part count and complexity is up there with masterpiece stuff, but you produce them in such a number and at such a slightly lower quality value that it gives inflation like more wiggle room for like the next maybe 5-6 years, like it's when you first, it's a big shock to the system at first. It's expensive, but like after a few years everyone sort of grumbles and gets used to it and and like 10 years go by and then they raise the price $10 and everyone's like again, but we're actually getting more toy for the money, for a while. That's
For a little while.
Point. Yeah.
I have a question just in like real quick. When you go to Target or Walmart and you stop in the toy section, what is the mix of adults versus children that you see in that area?
What time am I at the store in this fictional situation? Because I never go to the store.
I don't know.
Every now and again, I'll pop into a Target or a Walmart to look for something, and the only people I ever see looking at Transformers and Ninja Turtles are other adults. And like, there was one guy there, like, get there and it's like, oh, here's some other late 30s, early 40s, balding fat guy looking at Ninja Turtle toys. And so I was just like, which ones are you looking for? Because I'm there looking for my own, talk for like 2 seconds, right? And then, and then head on. But it was funny. Like, I could tell he was like I was just trying to be friendly and like get out of my shell or whatever, just a little bit. My shell, Ninja Turtles. And I could tell like he didn't know what to do. Like, he wasn't too awkward, right? But he's like, okay, see you later. And then I see him like 2 minutes later in the electronics section of Walmart, because that's where they put the NECA stuff and the collectible stuff. Like, it's just, and it made it more awkward because how he tried to break it off earlier. So I was just like, oh, nice to see you again. You following me, or whatever.
You bathed him in shame not once but twice in the same.
Right.
Visit.
Time no see.
Yeah. So yeah, it was.
You should have acted like you didn't see him before. Like, oh, are you into Ninja Turtles?
He's a completely new person.
What?
Tell him I have that like short-term amnesia disease.
Yeah, because I feel like now, if I ever stop in the toy aisle, it's someone else like me, just like,
yep.
Some 40-year-old or whatever that's like checking out to see what they have, right? Or it's like some parent with their kid where they're just like, just pick something out so we can go. Like, that's literally like the two scenarios. Or maybe it's someone buying a birthday gift or something like that too. So it's like,
I've seen like groups of teenagers, like, after school, kind of rummaging through there,
Okay, sure.
like figuring out what they can steal. And but
how many hits can we get today?
Yeah. Pop them off. But it's usually what I call a Goomba going through there and like looking for stuff, and I'm trying to pretend I'm not the same guy. You ever did the thing where you're at the edge of the end cap and you're like, did that guy leave yet?
Oh.
And then he comes around and sees you doing it. You're like, oh shit.
I can't say I've had that, because I just go and look at whatever I want to look at.
I mean, I never go to the store, so I'm just kind of making this up, but
I only do it when
it's
there's
usually
Ninja Turtle
adults.
stuff. Yeah.
Right. So
I still see a
with
good amount
that,
of kids and families like shopping in the Transformers aisle.
Okay,
I
that's good.
will say one thing that has stopped is the checkout person going like, "Oh, is this for your son?" Yeah.
Those
So,
days
yeah,
are
here's
gone.
another fat SOB that's buying this for himself. Probably ain't gonna open it. Gets mad at me because I like banged up the package a little bit when I was running over the scanner.
You know what you should say? If that ever happens again, you should be like, I'd have to have sex first.
No, I did get something worse. I told the story in the winter that some dude at a Burlington Coat Factory was like, "Oh, is this for your grandson?" And I'm just like,
oh.
"Oh."
Oh God, that's even worse.
And you
That
said
one.
no, my great grandson.
Oh. But yeah, so what I was gonna say is that with the sales, I think that more and more that stores and Hasbro are targeting adult collectors, and I think with that they can see the being interested in again raising that price point and trying to create a true collectible. Kind of like what they have with NECA or whatever in the target area. So I don't.
Well, what's to support your theory? What's the Commander price point good for? It is essentially what you're saying. It is a higher price point, far superior product to some of the other stuff we've gotten, and it's had some weird misses where like remember when Jetfire was like half off at Walmart right away? Like when it first came out, it was $40 at Walmart. It was supposed to be $80. I think that was more of a Walmart mistake. But like the Commander classes sell, and they sell out, and then they sell for more, and they keep making them. They just re-released Skyfire again, but just today. That's the third run of that one figure.
I'm
So
kind
Yeah,
of
the leader
surprised
class-
Armada Optimus Prime hasn't gotten a re-release.
Oh, it's still coming again. Like they're not done with that one for sure.
Right.
But I guess what I'm saying is that was like, let's say, an experimental price point for the past few years. I mean, we're used to it now, but when it first came out, it was kind of like, whoa, what's this gonna be?
What is that price point again?
$80.
80.
Yeah, creeping up to 90.
So it's like what used to be the $50 leader toys, but with the extra polish, and now it's
Yeah.
80.
Yeah.
Well, speaking
So
Extra polish, and I forget what they call the Beast Wars versions of this, but the premium finish toys, is that another test balloon potentially? I mean, I know that's Takara, but is that a way that Hasbro was looking at? Like, all right, listen, this fan base will pay more for a toy that is got more paint to it and just looks nicer, even though it is the same deluxe toy.
well, that's a different thing. Like that's polishing a turd kind of, versus like coming up with something completely new and crazy. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
If we look at it from the other direction too, like the last few Masterpiece toys have had simpler engineering without sacrificing the way they look. Like the real sacrifice I think has been in like kind of the heft, because there's no die cast in it in Trailbreaker or whatever. He feels much lighter. Like you could probably cut just a few more corners and sell that as in the Generations line, probably. So it's now they're talking like they have in some areas, with what they do with Commander and some of the final masterpieces, like kind of converged a little bit, from the extremes they both used to be on comparatively. But of course, one of them's dead now, so at least until it's not. But
I mean,
Well,
I
I
really
know-
expected MPG to be the subline, like that was the test thing, and I almost feel like Dakar is just like, and we lost our ass on this Raiden toy because for
Right.
variety of reasons, including COVID. Just like, you know what? Because you guys didn't buy this shit, you're stuck with it now.
they're bitter.
Yeah, they're mad. I think they just really wanted to rebrand. Like, it could have rebranded Masterpiece many times across the lifetime of it, but never did.
Yeah.
Like after when MP10 came out, they could have been like MP New and start over again. They could have done that. They could have done it again with MP44. I mean, like, we're at a new paradigm. But this is the first time that they're really, leaning into that, it seems. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see more Beast Wars figures in MPG, old MP toys redecoed in MPG, and completely new toys in that. I think it'd be it to me. It's just annoying, that this is like the longest running consistent brand without major deviation in pretty much in Transformers history, and they're just like, let's just arbitrarily change it. Let's just do that. But at least now you can have a finite, Masterpiece toy line collection if you want, and that's always a strange thing for a collector. It makes you feel weird.
It just comes back to the name. The MPG has a specific name, and it's the Combiners, right? Like it's literally in the so it's just weird that if that is what they're doing, and we see like Rat Trap Masterpiece in MPG. Like, well, what does the combiner have to do with anything? And I mean,
I'm sorry,
at the
how
end of the
many
day, I don't care what
combiners
name they
have
put on
they
the box.
released in this line?
Just Raiden and Jinrai.
One?
But it's in the name. It's in the name of the thing, you know?
But
Also
Jinrai
supposed to mean
combined.
great.
I guess
Now
so,
it's-
yeah.
Now it's masterpiece great.
Hey,
So we
Or
could.
good.
I'll buy that.
Gooder.
I'll buy that.
Masterpiece
I'll
gooder.
buy that. But as long as they don't try to shove a gimmick in so that they make it so everything in here combines, you know, because that is like, oh, now
Oh,
Rat Trap
God.
combines with Cheetor to make a mess, you know, or something. As long as they don't do that, then
So
yeah, I don't care what they call it.
if
Or
they
you
have
get
an
MP
Evo
Battle
Fusion
Trap.
mode,
Right. Blech.
Power links.
So yeah, that would be interesting if that's just their excuse just to rebrand and potentially shrink the scale again too, because Raiden isn't to scale with the Masterpiece line like he's supposed to be, which again makes the whole Jinrai. How is that going to look next to everybody? You know, because it uses the bot, so we assume the Jinrai bot itself will be into scale, but is it really going to be? You know, we won't know for a while yet. I don't think.
One thing that I said in the chat was that I thought the MPG scaled better with the Generations toys, at least Jinrai did. And so my wonder with before we got the news about MP ending was that since MP 60 is Prime, that by himself he looks like he'll scale well with your other MPs. A little bit
He's who?
smaller. Jinrai, I'm sorry.
It's right.
So he scales. It looks like he'll scale better with like your Carbot MPs, not necessarily MP44 or MP10, but with the Carbots, he looks to be about the same size. But then when you combine him with his trailer, at that point, because Jinrai is like the size of Fortress Maximus, so in the cartoon, so is he then scaling better with the Generations toys? when you
I don't
combine
think
them?
he's not the size of Fortress Maximus. Maybe he's the size of Cerebros, but like they ride inside Fortress Maximus, like the Chrome Dome and the Headmaster gangs and stuff. And then Jinrai is big, but like I think he's like Victory Saber height.
I guess maybe it's just like some pictures I saw online, and the perspective was, part of that I wasn't noticing. That it looked like he was pretty darn huge
Like,
in
I don't-
comparison to.
like Fortress Maximus is like the leader / base in Headmasters, and Jinrai is the leader in Master Force. I don't know if they're actually in the show at the same time.
What's the Fortress Maximus repaint that's in Master Force?
Oh, is Grand Maximus in there?
Grand Maximus, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Grand Maximus.
Okay.
So I think he's
That's
like
one
in
show.
some images I saw, he looked like he was the same height.
There
And
is
again, animation is all screwy and not necessarily 100%
Uh-huh.
accurate.
Yeah, there's one here where he's riding on Grand Max, and yeah, he looks almost as big as Grand Max, like if he laid down.
Yeah.
You know that it would be similar. He's like the size of Scorponok, or sorry, Black Zerg. Yeah, so
We might
transceiver
get
scale.
an overlord from this, right? Because wouldn't they need to have a villain for him to fight?
If we go by the stereotype, villains don't sell well in Japan, right?
But he's Gatai.
He combines.
He does. That'd be dope. I've been using the Fans Hobby one, which as I said earlier, like their aesthetic isn't great for Masterpiece, but that one was at least closer than I felt Power Baser was. So it's like, well, it'll be my stand-in. I mean, it's a good toy, there's no doubt. But if a Masterpiece one did come out, that worked. Yeah, and here's another picture for what it's worth. He's like the same height as Grand Max, so yeah, it's all over the place. Even though that makes absolutely no sense.
What Japanese cartoon from the 80s does?
Very correct.
So, hey Rob, did you get your flapjack backstacks here?
Yeah, I did, and that thing is a hot mess, is I believe how I phrased it in a
It's got a
Facebook group.
panel. It's got a panel or two. It's good stuff.
it had one goal, which was to be a box, and it actually does that really well. It definitely transforms into a box, and it's super silly in the fun way that like you can shove up Bumblebee in there, So like that was what it wanted to do, and that's what it focused on. I think the robot mode looks terrible. I don't think the transformation's super great. Like I do like kind of like the way the arms work in the front. I thought that was kind of fun, but the rest of it I thought was bad. But like it looks cool sitting on my Cybertron shelf, right? With the other pre-Earth things. So mission accomplished, right?
Yeah. Well,
it's not a masterpiece.
one thing I would say is maybe Takara is focusing on something else. Maybe they're trying to focus on a missing link, and so they're shifting away from Masterpiece to do more of these.
Listen,
now, I would be on board with that.
I'd
Same.
sacrifice Masterpiece for more Missing Link for sure.
I wouldn't even honestly consider it a sacrifice because of third party. Like
Right.
the truth is, like I have representation of everybody from the U.S. run of the cartoon, like early seasons 1 through 3 in the movie, right? Like they're on there, and then like there's a lot of deep cuts that are sprinkled in and out these days. So it's like it sucks because I do like to see Takara do these characters, and there's obviously still a lot of the Japanese trio cartoons that a good amount of those need toys or better toys. But we've gotten a lot. I can't be mad overall. We're getting who?
We're getting Squeeze Play.
It's not a Masterpiece toy.
It's not even a good Generations toy.
Man, I would do things I can't talk about on YouTube for a company to do like all of the cast from Master Force, all the Headmaster Juniors and the Decepticon Juniors. Like, yeah, I would be so down for that. But alas. Maybe MTG will do it.
Got that Night Beat coming.
We'll see. It's a repaint or retool of their Punch Counterpunch, I think. Right, or sorry, not Punch Counterpunch. Or wait, I think they're using it for is it Go Shooter? Yeah, it's Go Shooter, but that hasn't come out either, so we don't know how that's going to look, I guess. But if I look at their recent car molds with Punch Counterpunch and the Omnibots, like there's a lot I like about those, but there's also a lot that's not super great about them. I'm happy to have them because they're deep cuts, but so yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, right? Like, but if you only do one of them, that's you gotta do the trio, and I don't even know if they show CADs of other stuff.
Well, so far they've just done Night Beat, so you're not necessarily delving into the Headmaster Juniors, technically.
Yeah. Sorry, Minerva. That's what I meant. Sorry, Yeah, it's a Minerva repaint technically.
Wait, but they haven't done Minerva.
No, I think they've shown the CAD files for it, but I just mean like the toy itself. Minerva and Night Beat are the same toy.
Right.
Like in G1. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if they're doing Night Beat, then they could do that, but you got to do Cab and you got to do whatever the Anko shooter. You got to do the trio, but I don't know. I mean, I'm still sad. Either way, like unless it just turns out to be just literally a rebrand and everything is the same. But Masterpiece has been limping along for so many years, anyways, with barely putting stuff out. Even though they've had great releases in the past several years, I think it's been limping.
I don't think it's a good sign that this is happening. Can't tell you exactly why, but it's like when you got something that's working for 20 years and you're just like, hey, let's just change things.
But that's your assumption that it's working.
Right. I mean, the
if it's a sign that it's not, that's the problem.
It's a bad sign. It's a sign that things aren't so great. That's what you do when things aren't working so great. You move people around. You restructure your entire giant grocery organization. You make mistakes, and people leave, and things change. So it's not necessarily from that death can come rebirth. But I guess we'll have to see. But I want more Missing Link all day. And I when I first saw that thing, I was like, holy shit, this could be like, this could be another 20-year break. This could be the next phase of Transformers where they're like, reissues, what were those? We got these now. And like, 'cause I mean, even then Optimus Prime was like on the low end, $55.
Yeah.
So
This is like the Hasbro and Takara version of the Disney live action movies. We're going to give you the exact same thing, but with more articulation.
I mean, I don't know though. I feel like
they're doing the same thing. It took
I
a
want
while.
both.
Transformers finally did it.
Just give me both.
I mean, I will say in general that missing link is probably the coolest Transformer that I've gotten in the last year. You know, just because it's different. It's not the same thing. Because that's the thing is like, how much more is a masterpiece or you know, third party or whatever going to wow you? Like, it's just incremental, I feel like, right? And so like this, I wasn't really expecting it when they first announced it. And honestly, like, I went ahead and ordered it, but I was like, you know, like, is it really going to be that cool? But I mean, I thought it was really neat, like opening it up and messing with it and everything like that. But it's just different.
It literally is the same thing, just with a really big new hat.
Yeah. I got to hold it in hand for the first time this past weekend at Dairy Con at Paul's booth when he wasn't looking. And I have to say, I was a bit underwhelmed. Like, you guys in the episode going over it, just, you know, were gushing so much praise over it. And I don't know. It didn't give me that holy crap moment when
Because you're not a true fan.
I'm not.
Because you
I
got to
can't
be
remember
contrarian.
his name. I'm pretty sure I just proved it that I'm a filthy casual.
Well, then why don't you got any of these, huh?
Because I'm a filthy casual.
Need some sticky statues.
Sticky statues? Why are they sticky?
Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
Oh, I already know the answer.
Because of Lucas's camera fuzz. Which, by the way, you look much nicer and much clearer now. Thank you for doing that, Lucas.
Skeet skeet.
He went there, folks. He went there.
Jeez.
And we're like an hour into it. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like on WWF Raw, when like you go into like the 9 o'clock hour, like, oh, the kids are asleep now. We can drop an S-bomb.
You know what? You know what I wonder now is how will third party react?
There's champagne in the back. We're gonna pop some right now.
Or are they going to feel like, you know what? You know, the three companies left, right? You know, like they're like, we've got a good bit of stuff announced. We'll wrap up what we've announced, and we'll be done too. You know, like, because like to get into new characters these days, you got to dig. Like, I'm not lying when I say like I got everybody in some fashion, right? You know, like there's, you know, Fans Toys has been talking about a Blitzwing for, I think, longer than my daughter's been alive. I think, you know, like at least it feels like it at times. But you know, sometimes maybe they just say, you know what, we're just going to give up. You know, they're not doing it anymore. I think it takes a bit of a hit, but maybe not that much because we've all been living on third-party Masterpiece for so long because the car has been such a drip feed. Maybe they'll continue on doing their thing.
Well, that's a very interesting like prospect that Takara Tomy stopping would cause third party to stop. Like, if that's the case, then it's even more lecherous than anyone wants to pretend it isn't, because that means like that all they're doing, they're riding the coattails. Parasites living off the carcass of this giant moving thing that, you know, all the promotion for this stuff comes from Takara making new toys, right? And it's all just the residual fallout that the third parties get. And so without the big giant mammal to suck blood out of, you're saying they would shrivel up and die.
I'm not saying they would or won't. I'm just saying I wonder if there will be a reaction. You know, like I could see it both ways. They'll be like, cool, you know what, we were crushing you anyways. That just gets us even more of the market. Or like I always, and maybe it's just part of it's because we're old, right? Like third party always started as a way to complement your Hasbro collection. It could complement, and then like eventually, you know, we got that Springer toy from Fans Project, and it was just like, you know, it's not an add-on kit; it's a whole figure.
And in hindsight, that thing sucks.
Oh yeah, it did not stand the test of time, but it was cool for what it was and what it did. But
And the test of time was like 6 months.
but it's, you know, it became to, okay, now they're going to fill in the gaps in your collection, you know, and Takara has been such trickling stuff out there's been a bunch of gaps because it's been a 20-year line and they haven't finished season 1. You know, they've done one mini bot. There's like a billion mini bots. What are you talking about? You know, they've left so much room for them to take that I could see them being like, you know what, Takara's quitting, and we think we've filled everything anyways. All that's left is like the really deep cups off the end. You know, the Japanese trio of shows that, you know, they've dabbled in. We've gotten some characters here and there, and I could see it. You know, maybe. Or else you start retreading, right? It's like, now we're going to do a 2.0 of something, and we've seen some of that. Fans Toys has done a second version of Sea Spray. They did a second version of Perceptor. You know, like we've seen some of that, but for what it's worth, those two in particular were notably bad, or, you know, or stood out for one reason or another. But
I don't know. I mean, how many third-party Optimus Primes are there that are even in the Masterpiece scale from all these different companies? And now Fans Toys doing one, and everyone is literally filling buckets right now. So, like, I think they would keep. If I was those companies, like I said, I'd be popping champagne and pointing a finger and laughing.
Maybe they are.
I'd be like, "Thanks, guys. We've been waiting for this."
For what it's worth,
I think that's what's happening. I think the third-party companies are ecstatic with this news. And then you're right. Your commentary about filling buckets. I just have the mental image in my head of that scene in Kingpin, where he's like, "We don't have a cow. We got a bull."
Yeah, it's, again, like, I'm just kind of, you know, throwing the idea out there and playing a little bit of devil's advocate, because the hell if I know. But like, to y'all's point, the fact that, like, I think Fans Toys is different, right? Because for whatever reason, they've made a cult, you know, and cult people aren't rational or reasonable or whatever. So whatever. But like, even XTB is like, we're going to redo Ironhide and Ratchet, you know, and like, I don't feel those toys need new versions, and I don't think the XTB ones do anything better, you know, or maybe like the few things they do are still offset by how many things it does worse than the official. But then, of course, Fans Toys is like, well, we're going to do one too, you know, and then everybody's like, oh, you know, so I do think Fans Toys lives a different life than XTB or DX9, who is showing some stuff again now for the MP line.
I think you've got Fans Hobby in there too, which is going for a little bit of the Unicron trilogy stuff. Like, I
think they're crushing it over there, man.
I think they've got a really nice niche that they've carved out, and I enjoy their figures quite a bit.
I see the Fans Hobby Unicron trilogy niche being comparable to MMC's IDW run. You know, like, that was a long run, and they did a lot of cool stuff. I wish that could kept going too. You know.
Yeah.
But
I always considered Fans Hobby like very great. Like, their market is China, like 100%, and we're just like, oh, you guys want some of the stuff? Here you go. Because I mean, it's all huge and not really great for exporting and importing with the weight and everything, but
chunky boys.
A little different than like MMC. I mean, MMC's audiences, you know, the West, you know, they always were, because that's the guys that made it were in England and stuff. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but that was. I guess the point is, like, I wonder. I'm surprised with how it seems, how voracious the Chinese market or appetite for Transformer stuff has been, and they kind of like want completely different stuff than we do. But I would assume they want Masterpiece stuff. Like,
I assume there's got to be a market there, right?
Yeah. How is that market not actually, like, you know, increasing the sales, especially from Japan? You know, I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's because the KOs are so prevalent over there.
Right. I was gonna say, for them, like, I don't think Chinese cares about IP theft, right? So I'm sure they don't care about if it's official or not. So
then the other thing too is you have a big market in Korea that they have their own transforming toy lines that are not Transformers tie-in. They're almost more similar to Power Rangers in terms of their kind of chunkiness and blockiness, and how they all kind of interconnect and that sort of thing. So there's, China could be hankering for both of those kind of things, and maybe that's what MPG is going to give us more of, is more combining stuff. Maybe we do get some new figures out of this. I don't know, or new characters, I should say.
I look forward to, if MPG 10 is God Bomber, that's a little bit expected, but I look forward to whatever is the next thing that isn't God Bomber in that line, which I think can give us a better idea of what the hell are you doing with this line? Are you giving us a true successor, or are you rescaling the line and giving a new aesthetic and a new goal for the line that doesn't really work with the existing Masterpiece stuff?
Which they've done before without a name change.
They did, yeah. Like, it was a little more organic, and obviously the first few releases of Masterpiece, they were really just figuring out what to even do, and eventually they kind of settled in on something, and there's still been evolution because it's ran for so long. You're gonna have evolution, but I feel at some point they're like, hey, these should be cartoon accurate Transformers that are collector oriented, and they said, okay, cool, let's do that, and that approach has changed over time in multiple ways, but I feel like at least the goals has been the same. Whereas Raiden, the main MPG thing is accurate trains, everything else be damned.
Mm-hmm.
You can have crappy engineering, you can have weird robots that are literally nothing but kibble glued together, and then a combined mode that a blind kindergartner could use Legos and come up with something that looks better. So like it's bad.
Well, I would think that there's a good amount of collectors that are like, you know what, MP's done at 60. I don't like this Raiden toy. Like I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's will the amount of people that are like, cool, a new Masterpiece line, I want to jump on that because it's starting early. Like, will that offset the people that jump off the train?
Paul,
I don't know.
How long have you been in this fandom and read social media posts or message board posts like, oh, that's it, I'm done. I'm getting out of Transformers. This is the last one I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And then a month later, like, gosh, check out my new haul.
A million times. But, I mean, I'm talking about people like myself that maybe got every Masterpiece toy because they're like, I want every number, like the weird mental checkbox stuff, and they're like, well,
like half our cast.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
This is kind of Takara Tomy being like, you can stop now. I'm giving you permission to stop now. You can keep going if you want.
It's okay, Nick. Go to sleep. Just go to sleep, Nick. You
Sleep. Okay.
But you get what I mean? Like
yeah.
It's kind of a chance.
We should have had Nick on here, right? So he could be like, "Oh, thank God, something is ending."
Yeah, I mean, it can kind of like wake.
I think that literally
wake you up.
Comment when we posted the announcement it was like, "Oh, thank God."
It's one thing that kind of occurred to me too. That just now, like, we have such a small sample size, right? We got Raiden, and now we're getting Jinrai, but like they are both from the Japanese trilogy of shows. That's
why my prediction's Overlord. After
maybe they're just
going
to focus on that. It's just, and there could be some wins there if they don't look like Raiden, and the scale isn't so terrible. Like it doesn't have to be perfect because scale isn't perfect, right? But if it's at least reasonable enough, they look good together, and again, I can do some squinting, right, to go with some other figures that are already out. Like then I would be content. And be happy to continue collecting.
Maybe the HasLab said, like, hey, wait a second, there's a market for this stuff far bigger than we realized.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's do the Japanese things and give it a different branding because it's going to be more focused on that now.
Well, one thing I want to point out is that MPG Super Jinrai is MPG 09, not MPG 9. So there's a 0 in front of it. That means we're in the double digits already, baby.
Yeah.
So there's more coming out of these pipes. I can't wait for MPO9B though.
I don't know what. Yeah, it'd have to be Burning or Nucleon Quest.
Nucleon Quest, yeah. Bring it.
I mean, or it could be something new. It's funny, like unless eHobby did the repaint, no other repaints are allowed. But
well, I mean, we'll get MPO9B. The Nucleon Quest one, and then we'll get MP
12, which is the Fire Gods one. So
Right.
MPG 12, because that's what they like to do is piss me off.
Yeah. And then there'll be 12 plus, which is actually back to cartoon colors, but extra engineering so that the arms shrink down.
Yeah, it's actually MP60, but with the different trailer guy, right?
Yeah.
60 plus.
God,
MPG 60 plus. They're just going to combine the numbering together just to piss off Paul.
I just hate this already. Like, there's nothing good coming of this. I promise you. This is the end of everything.
You're the only, you're not the
Everything.
only, but you're one of the few people out there that like gets this worked up about the numbering and nomenclature for the stuff.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's something to be. It definitely annoys me, but it doesn't like actually. I
It's
don't
fun
lose
to
sleep
bitch
over
about
this.
on a
Yes.
podcast where we focus on details that aren't important.
Right.
Yes.
Fun to play it up.
Like
So-
there was one guy that he's like, "Why are you freaking out about this?" And I was like, "I'm not, idiot."
Like, not really. I don't go bitch to my wife about it for an hour afterwards.
I think it was the Masterpiece Addicts group, and I was like, "Pack it up, boys! It's time to. We got to get a new group, MPG Addicts." That was all it was, and like, why don't you settle down? Like, okay.
I like how one
Yes,
guy's
Dad.
in there like, guys, I mean, we still have, third party in the toys we didn't get back in the day. They're like, oh, you didn't get these back in the day? Get out of here!
Loser.
We don't want no scrubs. Move on.
Where's your Bape convoy, bro?
Looking at what like third parties output versus Takara, like Takara in what 5 years? When did Optimus Primal come out? Was it maybe 5 years? I'm just guessing. Has put out like like 5 Masterpiece Beast Warriors toys or something like that. Not many. And in the past like 2 years, Transart has done almost everybody from seasons 2 and 3. Like not everybody, but almost everybody. And the ones that they haven't done, like Jin Yang did the big Transmetal 2 Dinobot or Megatron, and then Metagate did Pterosaur, and then season 1. That's not even season 2 or 3. And I think there was one other person that threw something in there, but it's just like. It's just weird. I think there's some disconnect there that obviously Takara's never been really deep into these lines to some degree, right?
That's because they have to churn out 50 plus of these every year. It's the same company doing the same stuff and some of the same dudes. And these toys are good for the price.
Yeah,
It's
especially for the price.
I'm sure that like this economies of scale work a lot better for this stuff. And so that's why they keep focusing on it. And
the thing is,
those are the passion projects or the Masterpiece toys.
oh, the guy that I was talking about that designed the MPG stuff and the Masterpiece stuff, he hasn't done any of the Generation stuff. He did some stuff on the first movie line. He did the Protoform toys, and he did like some of the gimmick toys. But yeah.
I mean,
well, it's just interesting,
That's what we have recorded. I mean, we don't know like every single thing that these guys are doing. It's like if he did the Protoform thing back then, do you think that's the only thing he did that year? Protoform, Starscream, Turdbot, like I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean,
no. I told you he did Protofine Prime too. He did 2 Turdbots.
Two, and they
I guess it
rejected
depends how
that.
long he's been doing this. Like he's likely in some sort of supervisory role where he's like consulting on other designs, that he might not be directly the person in charge of.
Yeah, he might be like the product manager, and then they get the design. Like you said, Rob, you alluded to like they outsource some of the work, right? And I've always wondered, did they say like we want to do Masterpiece Dude X, and they like put their feelers out to 3 or 4 designers, and everyone submits their pitch, and they pick the best one, and then the other ones go to X Transbots or something. I just don't know. Like I've always wondered.
We got to get this guy here. We got to get a translator. And we got to get Kojin Ono on the show. That's the only solution.
That would be our highest rated episode ever. I got a translator. If you guys want to get the guy,
that would be awesome. I mean, just like even jokes aside, like not to just to answer the Masterpiece question, we have like the guy designed Diaclone. Like, my God, right? He was an adult. before we
Was
were.
he at BotCon 2015? Was that the person that came to do a panel?
It doesn't say that he has showed up to a BotCon. So you're talking about the guy that like did like the wooden version of Optimus Prime.
I unfortunately had to miss that panel because I was running a dealer room thing. So that was a real regret from that year. But
Like now, this guy did not design Optimus Prime. I could be mixing memories though. You know, I'm old and my brain is bad. So
So, assuming, the Masterpiece line is ending, right? What are your guys' favorite designs from the line?
I thought your question was going to be, Lucas, assuming the Masterpiece line is ending, what reason do you have to wake up tomorrow?
that's another valid question. But
it really is.
None.
I could just rattle some off, but I'll just try to pick one. So maybe we can do round robin or something. But I got to go with the MP36, the Megatron. I mean, that's actually, I don't even know the number. It's the Megatron. The second Megatron is absolutely incredible. Like that was a turning point in the brand, like a late turning point where it just like, holy cow. And I remember everyone was trying to down talk that toy when the pictures came out. They're like, look at the back. It looked like garbage, and people made like back plates and stuff. And they thought it was so expensive. And that toy was worth every fucking penny. It is amazing. And I love it.
it is complex.
And I love it's actually not that bad though. If you mess with it a few times, like it's pretty intuitive. And it's got some moments, that are awesome.
I don't feel like it's hard. It's just complex, like you said.
Time consuming.
I mean, like I transformed it a few times when it came out. I haven't transformed it in a while at this point, but I remember like I got down to it only taking only 40 minutes while watching TV. You know what I mean? Like, so kind of like half paying attention, not just steadiest, but just kind of absent-mindedly. But it was a lot. But it was definitely. I feel like that's like one of those watershed moments in a way for the line. But I feel there was a lot of those. Like, I think Ultra Magnus was one of those. Right. Because it's like, holy crap, it's all in one. And I know the Titans or the Titanium toy did that as well. I don't remember which one came first though. But both of those were kind of like, whoa, they did it all in one. And then I think Inferno always stood out to me because they went for the less detail. Like they were already trending that way, and in retrospect, it's like, okay, they had kind of done it like with Shockwave and stuff. But like I thought Ironhide really kind of said like this is the way they're going to be for a while now, and they were. So yeah, just kind of some of those watershed moments. Like, and I think MP44 was one. I honestly kind of, maybe you'll understand, Paul, because I love that toy as much as you do. But I kind of feel like overall it was bad for the Masterpiece line because a lot of people tuned the fuck out when they came out, when they said 450. There's a whole show of me and Paul talking about that toy when it came out. And if you pay attention, I broke mine during that episode when it fell to the ground and broke a smokestack.
Really 450 though. I mean, that's kind of how you remember it, but like it was.
I didn't pay 450.
It was like 300 some, maybe 330 or something. Still, I mean, it's still expensive.
It was a big jump.
Honestly, I've at the time, I still feel like it was worth it. I think that toy is awesome.
But see, I don't know, like the thing is MP10 when it first came out, I think it was like $250. Like I looked it up.
Yeah, it was expensive. That
so,
was
like,
expensive.
Inflation. Like if you take that toy, right, when they first got released, and obviously like later on down the road when it was at Toys R Us or whatever, it was a lot cheaper. But like when it first got released, and so like to me, I don't think that if you were able to get it for $330 compared to $250, like that's not that far off, like especially considering the gap in years.
Yeah.
But again, like third party kind of killed, like because there's a bunch of $100 third party figures around the same time.
And honestly, to me, that was the death knell for MP4. What you're saying, Rob, makes sense, but you have to put it in perspective of like the oversaturation of all these other, quote unquote superior new versions of Optimus Prime that were coming out. That
alternatives.
Yeah, and that annoyed the crap out of me, like
really?
I still can't even tell.
even today now, I can't tell what toy is what when I see someone be like, "Here's my collection and it's doing a thing," and I'm like,
I can't
"Which
either.
Optimus is that?" I don't even know.
They're so similar. Like, I feel like that's another kind of like I was talking earlier about.
That's illegal.
Hasbro is the one that could stop third party, and they did for the chug market by producing it. I think if, like they're doing with Jinrai, if Takara had put out just Optimus Prime without his trailer as an option, I think they could have helped keep their reputation intact with the line, and not have turned so many people off. They needed a competitor,
Actually, maybe you're onto something there, because like they just came out with MP44 plus letter, whatever, the new one that is just the bot, just like the Nemesis Prime, and those are those are a lot more palatable, and I don't see people like talking mad shit on those. But if they would have done it like they did MP1, where they released the bot and then later was like, here's the super edition with the trailer, that might have worked out better for them.
I think it would have.
Or done it like Missing Link, where you just release them both at the same time. Like, here you go.
Oh, well, that would have caused a shitstorm at the time.
I think they should have. I think that's because they did it with Missing Link. They're doing it now with Jinrai. Like, I kind of wonder, are they doing that because of what happened with MP44? And, third parties are like, oh, screw this. We can give a $150 alternative to a new Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And so 3 companies all did it at once.
Well, Ron mentioned too that MP44 that Unicron was announced shortly after. So like obviously, if you're talking about like making your wallet hurt, having to come up for a payment for Unicron at the same time as MP4, or like even if you're planning your stuff out, budgeting.
Then we saw MP Dinobot and MP Beast Wars Megatron just go like $250, $350, and it was like, what the hell? And that's at a point where the toys were coming out at a little bit faster pace.
Didn't last long.
Those were some pricey pills to swallow.
Yeah.
That Dinobot demands money on the aftermarket, though.
I mean, I believe you, but at the time there was a lot of like, jaws hitting the floor when that price point came out.
Yeah. Oh, he was an expensive potato dino. I mean, he was
for sure.
It was up there.
But I was gonna mention, when I was thinking my favorite masterpieces, like you guys already kind of mentioned them, because I kind of feel like for 2 different reasons, that Masterpiece Megatron was just so much different than everything that came before, and was just such a really cool bot. And when you kind of talk about those masterpiece moments where you have this new level of engineering that you didn't have before, I think that's where I appreciate that. And I think that like it was just the amount of paint on them too was, it was just a lot different than that came before. So like that was one thing that I really loved on one hand, and then Rob, like you said, like Ultra Magnus, like I think MP10 and Ultra Magnus both, the original or whatever, not the original, so the second Masterpiece Optimus, like those are just fun toys. Like you just like mess with them, and in a way that I don't know that you could with Megatron.
So I'm going to go a little bit different route. I really still love Sideswipe. I think this was because he was the first Carbot they did, correct? And like I just think it just captured Sideswipe. This was before they were kind of like they're trying to like split the difference between animation accurate and homaging the original toy, and I think this figure really captures that. I love his head. I like the proportions. It has that kind of big wide chest like the toy did, but you still have plenty of cartoon aesthetics involved in this. So I very much like this. And my second one's going to be Soundwave. Just the fact that you got in the US release, you got all his tapes with him. Like this was just like to open up to find him at Toys R Us was like took freaking forever. But then when you finally got him, you open them up. It was like, oh my God, there's just like toy after toy that's coming out of this box, and they all have cool transformations, and they all just look so perfect to what I grew up with watching on the screen.
Both those toys revealed on the same day, Transformers Jesus Day. Just saying, at the time it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, like I actually didn't say which one was my favorite. I was just like the watershed moments stick out to me. Like
Yeah.
Right.
Grimlock's legs folding into themselves. It was just like,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I
But
was
like-
going to mention him. He's unbelievable, especially for the time.
yeah,
Right
but like
car mode, giving me an ulcer to try and transform. That's just a watershed moment right there.
but like probably my favorite would probably have to be the Soundwave, even though he's been usurped on my masterpiece shelf for robot mode. He has. I think the way the definition of what the line is changed. Surprise, the people that do it a gajillion years later have something that hits that mark better. But I think if you look at the history of the masterpiece toys before they kind of redirected the line, by far he still works the best in the collection. Like if there are people that like didn't replace MP10, I feel he sticks out aesthetically, But if you left Soundwave in there, and you're like, and I don't want to get the fan switch one, he still fits in pretty well. Like, and he's a really fun toy. And as Phil said, they did all the cassettes for him, especially if you bought the US version, and the US version was priced. Even back then, I remember thinking, "Holy crap, this is cheap for what it is." Getting that box set. So I feel like that one stood the test of time better. Whereas other stuff, we'll see how time looks over time, right? Like I don't think like Sideswipe is a great toy. It's a really fun toy. I think aesthetically he doesn't fit in though, and that's why I have the Bad Cube one in mind, which is not a fun toy, just being blunt. But he shrinks his chest and stuff. He does the thing. Yeah, I'd have to give it to Soundwave. I think he just stood up.
Well, there we go.
I got a
So
quick
yours, Paul,
question.
wasn't Starscream, the new Starscream 2.0 or
Oh,
3.0, whatever it is.
I love that toy, but the best Starscream toy in Masterpiece is MP44. So why would I tarnish
I hate you
that?
so much. I hate you so much.
I've never taken the head off. Still there.
So I just have a quick question before we wrap up. This ties back into something Rob said about he's really curious to see who's going to be next after we get the assumed God Bomber. What's your over-under on when we see that next toy? Not God Bomber, but the one after that. What's your over-under on when we see the next MPG that's not tied to Jinrai?
2025.
Summer next year.
Summer of next year? Like not shipping, but like see
Announced.
images. Okay.
I think like spring to summer
Okay.
of next year.
I don't know. It's so hard because they don't have the same toy shows that they used to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
they-
don't know.
They still got 4 more redecoed train bots to show too, so don't forget
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And they
No.
put Jinrai right in the freaking middle of all those numbers. So
I
it all
think
makes
Oh,
sense.
they did, yeah. Oh God.
Just
I
like
do
the Seacons.
I do think that we will find out what the next MPG figure is, and probably the next like 4 or 5 after that before we get the Winds of Winter. So
Wow.
Just out of left field.
Well,
with the
never's a
dark
long
card,
time,
Mark
Rob.
Jam.
I think we'll get that before we get a good Transformers movie in the theater.
Oh. I don't know what
Not
you're talking about.
not
So we
including
got-
the or the rerun they're doing next month for the animated film.
But that's
What
not a
about
movie.
what about in space, Rob? What about in
How?
space?
How is it that we
Iffy.
have a Transformers movie coming out this year in like 6 months almost? Less than 6
September?
months. We still haven't gotten a trailer.
Dude,
We'll
that
get
shit
it
is
tomorrow in
doomed.
space.
That shit is doomed.
Man.
I still haven't watched Battle of the Best or whatever it was. So
Really?
That's not a bad movie.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's
I mean,
not
I've
awful.
heard people. I've heard everyone is just like kind of meh with a little smile. Like they're like, it's not terrible. You're not gonna die if you don't see it. And it's just like, hey, I got something else I'd rather do for 2.5 hours every time.
I
I'm,
enjoyed it more
Yeah.
on the second watching.
like I keep meaning to watch it, but it's just like that's a commitment, man. So then again, I made myself sit through last night so I can watch anything
Oh,
eventually.
God.
But like I had to watch it in 2 parts, and the second part was like on another monitor while I was multitasking. You know. So,
I watched it in the theater, and the only good part about it is that like we went as a group with like some of the local Transformers fans, and one of the other guys just kept groaning through like the whole movie, and so I was just like laughing like the whole time because like every time he would groan about how horrible the movie was.
I remember getting angry watching that in the theater because there was a dude sitting a couple rows in front of me that was laughing at the horrible jokes. Like, stop it. Stop encouraging Michael Bay. This is not funny. You are an idiot if you legit think that's funny.
Well, Rob, you gotta see it before you see G.I. Joe Formers.
Right?
oh yeah, because I'm totally gonna watch that one. Like
Christian is very
I think
excited, let me tell you.
Man, can we do like a live watch and like Rob's virgin eyes have seen Rise of the Beast? That'll be a Patreon special that we don't run anymore. That'd be kind of fun. As long as you don't get copyright struck.
it would have to be Rob is watching off screen somewhere, you know, and hope that the audio blipping in through the mic didn't set it off, you know.
We just like have a video of like Rob's face like watching it.
It'll just be this
it's
whole
like,
time.
all right, it's like, all right, guys, start the movie yourself, and so then you can have it on another screen while you watch Rob's reaction.
What's the MacGuffin called in Rise of the Beast? What,
Spoiler.
Is it like the transwarp key or something?
Yeah, I couldn't think of it, but yes.
I was gonna say I couldn't remember.
So just like we just have it as like a contest. Like every time they say transwarp key, Rob has to do a shot.
Rob died from alcohol poisoning.
I think you got some good ideas here.
There we go.
Hey, I'll be down for this for what it's worth. If we want to make it a dumb event for me to finally watch that movie,
Hey, we can. I think it sounds like we can probably do it on Discord if we have to. I think the book club watches shows and stuff on there. So
yeah.
But
I'll do it. I'll have a lot
speaking
more
of
time
book
on my
club-
hands soon, Rob. I can do that.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of book club is going to be Sunday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern on the TF Talk Discord, and they are going to do the Valentine special, I guess. So there you go. I don't know, whatever issue that is.
It's that one.
That one. Yeah. They can tell you more. Just hop onto the TF Talk Discord and check it out. So, all right. Well, with that, thank you guys for joining me, and thanks to everyone in the chat. And I guess we'll see everyone next week. I think next week we're gonna do a review of the comics potentially.
That was the plan.
The new run or whatever. So
we might get some sort of reaction from the trailer at some point in the very near future.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Well, thanks for letting me join. Old friends.
Yeah,
it was nice.
good,
Welcome back, stranger.
Good seeing you again, Paul. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Old friends are new enemies.
Just had to
frenemies.
Just had to pour one out for my favorite toys, the MPs. Soon to be replaced by the MLs, I hope.
Yeah. Well, join us next time
Marvel
for another
Legends.
masterpiece therapy group. Withdrawal therapy. I will remember you.
Play the
Hey
video
guys,
again.
remember when we used to do whole episodes on a new MP release? Yeah, that's never gonna happen again.
Literally can't.
So,
Ouch.
Hey, well, Rhinox is still coming, right? I mean, we got
We got
that's
one last
true.
one. One last one.
where's the Rigorous episode? Rigorous just came out, and he's kind of cool.
There you go.
Is that the yellow hoist?
All right.
He's a G2 Decepticon.
All right. Well, with that, we'll see you guys.
宝富